So we've been following here a basic income experiment that's been going on in the city of Stockton, California, and the results are basically in. So the program that they launched here was just a pilot, essentially, and they sent $500 to 125 randomly selected individuals from low-income neighborhoods. Now, the attack on UBI has always been that basically it'll make people lazy. They're just going to spend it on like drugs and alcohol. They're not going to want to work. Those are the sort of right-wing attacks on UBI. There's a left-wing critique of UBI as well. But what this experiment really sort of disproved is those conservative talking points against it.
So
they found that those who had in the group that was getting the money, one of, again, the conservative talking points is like, oh, well, they're not going to want to work. Actually, the number of people in the group that got the money who had a full-time job increased 12%, significantly more than the control group. They also saw less than 1% of the money went to things like cigarettes and alcohol. People had more stability in their lives. They were happier. They were healthier. They had better health outcomes, just kind of across the board, it clearly improved outcomes for them and, again, provided them stability to actually be able to get a job and work.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And this one in particular, the cash transfer reduced income volatility. So households getting the cash saw their month-to-month earnings fluctuate 46% versus the control group 68%. That's always one which has fascinated me, which is that, I mean, poverty in particular is that the fluctuation makes it so that the lack of planning, everything becomes a crisis. You know, when you have an unexpected, a household expense that crops up, especially with uncertain work, reduced hours, your inability in order to guarantee labor, that has always been a big problem. So that's where the UBI came in handy. It's also interesting that a lot of it was food, home goods, utilities, and gas. And the last one is where I really have my eye on with the pandemic, which is debt. Household and consumer debt was so astronomically high and increased in some respects with the pandemic. I expect a lot of consumer debt and household debt to actually go down. We've seen this in the middle class. That's a net good thing, actually. So I think it is, it's very interesting results here in terms of, it is only $500 a month, and that's where more of the debate comes into how exactly and what the cash transfer and all that would look like. But yeah, cool results out of the story.
Yeah, and obviously the politics on direct payments has just dramatically changed.
It has.
Especially this year with the pandemic. And now you have Andrew Yang, who of course ran for president on guaranteed income pledge. He's running for mayor with a similar sort of a pilot program. It wouldn't be for all residents of the city, but it would be more widespread and a larger dollar amount than what they were able to pull off in Stockton, California. So it'd be interesting to see, number one, if he gets elected, and number two, what the results of that would be, and if there would be a further mainstreaming of this idea of universal basic income. But, essentially what they found here was all of the concerning potential impacts that you could have, the work disincentive, are they going to blow it on the wrong things? Those are always sort of like, I always found those critiques to be very paternalistic and very sort of contemptful of the poor. We've got to tell you how to spend. It's got to be through food stamps so we can make sure that you're spending it on the right things, or just through housing vouchers. This shows what a lot of other studies have showed, which is basically like, look, if you just give people money, they actually do a pretty good job of knowing how to spend it.
Yeah, especially whenever the burdens are, household goods, debt, utilities, that type of thing in particular.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have more Rising for you after this.